The Finnish Heritage Grain Seed Propagating Network. In the Nordic Gene Bank, there is a lot of Finnish heritage seeds. Out of all the heritage grains in the Nordic Gene Bank, Nordgen, 56% are from Finland. This is as in 1979 to 1983, there was systematically collected heritage grains from Finland for the newly established Nordic Gene Bank. Here you can see the heritage grain accessions in Nordgene by country, and you can see that Finland have by far the most barley and rye accessions, but also wheat and oat accessions are many compared to what there are then in Sweden, Norway and Denmark. We need the farmers and the millers and the bakers and also the consumers in the network when we are propagating these heritage grains, and we would like to introduce them on the market again. The farmer must grow in good soil, and but it should be nutrient poor soil. It cannot be very much nutrients in the soils because the heritage grains do not like that. He has also to find a suitable place for the crop in the crop rotation. For example, some fields have very uneven soil types. It may be that in one field plot there are several different soil types, and you may also have compactation or some other problems in parts of the fields. In such a field, then a heritage grain could suit well in. Possibly you could grow them also as mixed crops because in old days they were often grown as mixed crops. You have to give the grains time to develop. Heritage grain usually takes some time to get to fit into these new cultivation conditions. So you should not stop cultivating them after just 1 year. It's worthwhile to continue cultivate them for 3 to 4 years, and then they should have already started to get used to the new growing conditions. Also, the miller must make some changes. He must learn how to grind with a stone mill if he has not been using that before, and also to grind whole grain flour. There is a lot of food and important minerals in connecting to the outer layers of a grain. So if we continue to peel that off and only use the inner kernel of the grain that gives the white flour, then we are losing too much of the nutrients. The miller also must know the milling characteristics of different strains and varieties, also during different seasons. So in some summers the weather conditions are good and in others they are bad, and this of course is also reflected into the quality of the grain. The artisan baker must master the art of baking with sourdough. That's a hand process. You have to use your hand, your nose and your eye to determine what to do with the dough. Learn to know the baking characteristics of different strains and varieties because there are differences. Know the flavors and characteristics of different years. And it's not the same type of grain you get from a very warm and sunny summer, which will give high falling numbers, compared to a very cold and wet summer that will give low falling numbers. The baker also must develop new, perhaps use some old ones, but put them into a new context concerning the recipes. The consumer will get a healthy, local and sustainable organic product and get a bread with good taste, and he will get a good story as well. He will also get new products, and he must also learn to eat products with new flavors, because the grain from the old days, they do not taste similar to those that we are perhaps used to from the industrial processing. This is a drawing on how the Finnish heritage grain seed propagation network is functioning. I was ordering home seeds from the Nordic Gene Bank. You see down in the left corner and refrigerator where they are stored in Sweden. We got this very small package of some few grams. It could be 10 or 20 or 30 grams. I opened up the envelopes and stored half of it at Häme University of Applied Sciences, and the rest were then sent out to the multipliers. They started in the back garden in this very small scale. In the beginning, it was just one row. From there, they had to continue to sow the seeds and thresh the harvest, and again the new seeds sow out them. And all the time they had always to keep a backup as well. So they could not all the time sow all the seeds they had, because if the weather would be so bad that they wouldn't get any yield, then they had to storage always a backup also of the seeds. When it was enough, so to say, they had 200 grams that they could spare, that would then typically be something like they had actually nearly 1/2 kilo, then half of it was backup storage, and from that there should be enough for sowing the own field for reproduction, and then also to have spare ones to give back to Häme University of University of Applied Sciences, where we were arranging then field trials in cooperation with the Nature Resources Institute Finland. When the back garden area was too small, we had to transfer them into farms, so farmers who could start to cultivate them out in the fields. And immediately as there was enough that we could give for trials to the miller and the baker, that was done. And now our main person in this whole network is the consumer, but the paper there was not any space for that, so you can see behind the oven a small group eating a bread, a very, very small microscopic people here, but actually they are our main actors. The reason for this network is, of course, that we need sorts that are fit for organic farming. We need something that is higher, bigger, has a bigger root system. We need something that can cope with the changing climate that we have felt really hard up here in the Northern Europe. We started this network in 2017, and in 2021 to 23 our network was financed by Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry in Finland in a project named Diversity to Fields. On the upper picture here you can see how the seed packages looks when they come from the Nordgene, the Nordic Gene Bank. And to the right you can see the map of all those who are participating in the propagation network. And the orange ones are farmers, and the red ones are hobby farmers. Altogether it is circa 100 members. Besides this, there are also people that cultivate already some kind of heritage grain. Mostly it is rye that they have preserved at their own farm from before, so it has been in cultivation all the time. So we had also accessions that not were from the gene bank, but that had been preserved in cultivation in Finland. Annually, we get also support from the module Agriculture Diversity at Häme University of Applied Sciences, Finland. Some students are helping us, usually in taking care of the field trials and also monitoring at the field trials. This heritage grain project is a part of research by Annika Michelson. When we started to multiply the seeds of heritage grain, then maps were compiled in order to find out from where the accession were taken when they were collected for the gene bank. It was easier to do this for rye because they were named after the village where the grain was collected. But for the barleys, it was much more difficult as the name was given according to the farm. So we cannot actually locate these grains really. Most of them are most likely from Ostrobotnia part and from, perhaps southern parts of Lapland as well. The wheat could have also been able to put mostly on the map because they have been then named after some geographical location. Oats have been difficult again. There has been found several oats in different gene banks around the world, and only some of them can be connected to some geographical space. And those that cannot be connected, I have just put them out into sea here on the map. Concerning the broad beans are also all named after the place where they have been found. So the broad beans we can really put on the map. It was then tried to do so that when we started to multiply them, then I was looking for farmers in the same region from where they originally had been taken. This, of course, is not possible all the time, and as we had also many that we didn't know from where they were, so it was a kind of try and fail. So if it didn't fit, then we had to try to move it more southern areas, for example, or some of them move them more north up. And this is very time consuming. It takes really a lot of time. Up till now, there is really very few products made out of heritage grains in Finland. Elisantti heritage rye do-it-yourself bread was the first product that came into my knowledge. And here is used then an old rye in Finland, and it is also written on the packages. Now black oats are becoming more popular, and it's possible to find Helia Finnish black oat flakes, and also flour made of Helia is being sold at some mills. Then have a look at different heritage grain varieties that we have in our network. Just a few examples. This is Mustialatvengs Bergslagshamburn rye. It's a bush rye, and genetically it is totally different from all the other rye. Maybe we have more of them. Just for now we have identified only one. This rye has also a very interesting story, as it was not found in Finland but in Norway among the Finn forest people. And only 10 grains were found of this in an old building, and 7 of them started to germinate, and out of that it has then been multiplied and is produced now in all Nordic countries. Then on farm scale, it has only reached in Norway and in Sweden, and in Denmark partly, as it has been cross-pollinated with some other Finnish slash and burn rye as well. That maybe not is actually a bush rye. We don't know about that. So you can see here different packages of this slash and burn rye. It's called slash and burn rye, or sometimes also midsummer rye. So it is being sold in these different countries under these names. We have one red clover and one white clover also. Organic certified seeds are available for this Pertuli red clover. The seeds are produced in North Savo. The farmer owner used to have cattle, and he said that he never gave any mineral fodder for his cattle. They were just eating this clover. This clover is very high. It can reach an height of 170 actually, and as is with the clover, it bends down and shoot new roots. So just if you take the top and then you lift it up, then you can see that it is really a really high one. And red clovers are then pollinated by bumblebees, and especially long-tongued bumblebees, which has become more and more rare. You can see Hermanni rye, and in the front the farmer who has been cultivating his father's cultivated rye. That rye had been for a long time at his farm, and it is now also registered as a conservation variety in Finland. To the right you can see Vanha Vaasalainen heritage rye being reproduced now in Ostrobotnia. Sarkalahti heritage wheat comes from southern Karelia, where it has also been multiplied the seeds there again. Siikajoki heritage wheat is one from northern Finland, from North Ostrobotnia, and we managed also to propagate the seeds of that in the same region. Monola heritage wheat is from South Karelia, and it is very diverse. Some of them looks even like a little bit like spelt. There are both with awns and without awns, and this has been reproduced, multiplied the seeds also in South Karelia. Miehikkälä heritage wheat is also from South Karelia. It was also propagated in South Karelia. Oululainen heritage wheat origins from North Ostrobotnia, and it was propagated in central Finland. It is quite brown, the grain. And then some examples of heritage barleys. This one is Kämäräinen. It's from Nilsia or Juankoski, so northern Savo, but it has been reproduced a little bit southern. You can see how broad the leaves are. To the right, an old oat sort, kytö, and to the left, Jokikylä heritage oat. Jokikylä has managed very well both in southern Finland as well as in central Finland in Ostrobotnia. We are also multiplying seeds of some other crops, not only mainly cereals, but for example also buckwheat and broad beans. Here are Ilkka to the left and Paukkunen heritage broad bean to the right. Peas were used to be produced in mixed crops together with oats or barley for animal fodder. Here you can see heritage grey pea, Inkilä, which also is called fodder pea in Finland. Its origin is in South Karelia. As late as in 2018, a grey pea was found in East Uusimaa at Malmgård, and this is nicely marmorated with red flowers, and it's much more higher than any modern pea sorts. Also, this would suit for example, for fodder in mixed cropping on an animal farm. But these grey peas have also been used to produce falafels in Sweden, so also that could be tried out with this pea. And the third grey pea we have in Finland is Jokke's heritage grey pea from East Uusimaa, and it is just now in multiplication process. And this was found at a farm where the farmer have been a hunter and hunting does, and forest does like really much this heritage grey pea. There is also a network for multiplying or in situ to keep up the production of heritage potatoes and old potato sorts of Finland. That network is not that big, it's just a little bit more than 20 persons, and there is only 23 different sorts in that and are kept in that way in cultivation in Finland. When the climate is changing, it is extremely important that we keep the heritage grains and all other heritage cultivars growing on field so that they can change with the changing weather. Otherwise, there is a risk that we store something in the gene banks, but when we want to take them back on fields, then they are not coping anymore with the new climatic conditions. Field trials and this propagation is undertaken also at Mustiala Organic Educational and Research Farm in Finland. On this picture you can see Sarkalahti wheat on the fields in 2022. The sorts that are being propagated and the seeds that are being multiplied, all of them you can find at Viljalari homepage. It is in Finnish, but it's easy to translate it into English by clicking your mouse, the right click, and choosing the language you would like to read it in. The Finnish multipliers have also an own group in Facebook that you could join in. More information about heritage grains in Finland from Annika Michelson.